All right, let's get a good, get the camera to stay. That's probably ideal. All right, so it's the 4th of October, 2024. My name is Evan Strong. I am going to touch this a little bit. Got that soccer goal tripod, so it's kind of just more of a balancing act, but I am the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, a company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We acknowledge how we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. And yeah, this video, this video is gonna be good. I don't know why I'm even hesitant coming into this. I think part of it, I came over with a beanie on, all right? So the hair is a little bit not so done. I'm also wearing this shirt that has too long of sleeves intentionally, because that's what this video is about. But it just kind of feels a little bit different. But we're rolling from here. So we make very bold claims here at In The Image Clothing Company. How, as you saw with my mobility of my wrists, I don't stretch, and I haven't stretched in, I don't know, I say over 6 months just because I know for sure that it has been over 6 months since I've done a stretch, The reason we make bold claims like that, and how I say that we shouldn't have to work out or exercise to get up to a certain capability level, is because our bodies are universally designed to work. We recognize our slight differences, or maybe very major differences, right? I say things like deformities and surgeries and amputations, or whatever it is within your own situation that sets you apart. We recognize those things and we address them if and when. But skeletal system, that's what we focus on. And when it comes to the skeletal system, we are all universally designed, right? Unless, right, we do have our very slight differences or whatever it is in our own situations. But the body is designed to work, and it works out of its position. I did an entire video called "The Body Only Has One Position," and I talked about that position you think of as being what people would call, I just don't use the word posture, right? But what people would call good posture. We do everything out of that position, and from there we hinge at the hips, or we reach from the arms, or we do what we need to do, right? I always say we cannot tell our bodies what to do. I've gone into that in very, very great depth. And then I add, you can try to tell your body what to do all you want, but then you can have fun with your foam roller and your stretching routines, right? Because we push through things and we think that we're telling our bodies what to do, but really we're living in pain and soreness and tight muscles and stiffness, because our bodies are telling us hey, I don't do that, and you're trying to get me to. And so that's their response to us, right? So yes. All right, so what I'm going to talk about in this video, I think you can, by that I mean I know you can tell if you've seen other videos from me up until this point. I'm a little bit lost almost in this video, and it's fine, but really a big part of it is this shirt is too big. And I bought this shirt yesterday. I like it. At the thrift store I bought it, right? But it's a good video shirt, a good example, because I've talked about before how, well, I say the body is all connected, right? The body works as a whole. I always mention if something in the body doesn't work correct, then something else and many things have to work differently to try to compensate. Because we do have a center line, and we live on a vertical globe, meaning just gravity pulls us straight down, right? There's the sternum, behind it is the spine, and the nose is all right in the center. I always say when I'm wearing button-ups, you can look at my buttons, right? They'll stay in the center. We have a center, okay? Man, I'm kind of flustered, but we're gonna keep going because I forgot to mention my prerequisites. I have had prerequisites just to allow the body to have a chance to function. Since before I founded this actual company, I was making videos, and my prerequisites will always stay the same. They are to lace your shoes with the technique that is now in the Image Clothing Company's technique, right? Found any and all places you can find us, just meaning you can look us up on the internet nowadays, right? Including just tying your shoes evenly, right, over toward the inside. And all that lacing does is just allow the shoe, to the best of that design's capability, within the stiffness of the sole or the, you know, shape of the actual toe box, and it allows that shoe to fit on your foot like a glove would on the hand, right? Just to allow the foot that is universally designed to just function how it would. And then pairing the lacing with removing the tags, stemming it within your shoes. They're usually in the tongues, and then up through the entirety of all the clothing you wear. And I personally have made videos on those tags and where they are placed and what they do universally to humans, because they really do affect the way that our bodies work in quite a big way, actually. They really do. So, all right, yeah. This shirt here, okay? I've talked about how, like I was mentioning, the body works as a whole, right? So I say all the time, the hand is pretty much just the shoulder, right? And I talk about how the ankle and the foot are pretty much just the hip, because if I'm out here doing something with my hand, how my hand's operating out here depends on how my shoulder is operating over here, right? Like the angle of my nice neutral wrist, right? I did a video on the neutral wrist. My shoulders need to be in their natural position for that to happen. If my shoulders aren't in their natural position, my hand can't get into its neutral position, right? Everything just is connected within the body. So I've talked about before, I actually did a video I think that was this week. I think it was this week, on how pant cuffs affect body mechanics, is what the title was, right? The cuffs of our pants can affect our entire bodies. Man, yeah. Well, the cuffs of your sleeves can affect your entire body, okay? Now, what'll happen is, because I've always mentioned we need to keep our sleeves off of the hands, completely off of them. You know, the pants should be off of the ankles, not touching the tops of the feet, right? I always mention where clothing should sit, as within our designs in the Image Clothing Company. This is where our clothing will always sit, or at least that'll be incorporated within our designs, and then you just make sure you purchase it in your size. But man, yeah, it's like kind of hard to talk even in this. I'm gonna get into why, but yeah, pants need to sit above the hips entirely, right? Very slightly higher in the front than the rear. And then shirts, the top seams need to be behind the shoulders, and the ones at the edges should be right at the very edges. And I've talked about how with button-up shirts, they normally have like a double stitched like band across the back, right? So there's like a stitch here, and then there's one that goes normally. I haven't even looked this shirt over. Yeah, right here, right? And so even though this is kind of like in front, really this whole thing is one like seam, if you will. So it is behind the shoulders, reinforcing that internal rotation. But I talk about, and I've said, and you've been able to see, you know, within I have over 95 videos as of this one, just on, you know, stuff like this, and you'll see that I don't adjust my clothing, or just rarely ever in a video that you watch. And some of my videos, you know, I mean, most of my videos average probably about a half hour long, right? But as you can see here, this is on my hands, the sleeves. And so I'm actually like kind of restricted within this shirt to having my normal mobility. Yeah, I mean, I can feel tension just from walking over here and, you know, wearing this just in that amount of time. So the point is, when, you know, you have your nice relaxed wrist and hand. I did a video also on the natural working hand. I did a video on how the pinky finger affects the entire body, right? I mean, I've talked about the hands so much because they're big. When your sleeves are sitting on your hands, it kind of puts you like this, right? I'm always talking about internal rotation. stemming from a good gripped arch in the foot, natural outward bow and internal up through the legs, posterior tuck of the pelvis, active core, right? Stacked neutral stance with a very slight bend and everything, just the natural stance. But my shoulders are dropping because my hands are being altered, trying to hold up the sleeve off of my hand like this. Wow, this shirt's also kind of long too. I did an entire video on how tops should be waisted, right? But yeah, there we go. I mean, if I was like this, then I could just stand. My toes are actually about like this, at this kind of angle, like that excessive, if you will. Not that it's excessive, but just like if my feet were normally here, my feet are like this right now. Just because internal rotation is very natural. But so is having a relaxed hand, right? So is having your hips be able to just be posterior without having to like be altered because there's clothing past where your hips hinge, right? So yeah, what'll happen is you'll be trying to alter your hand position, and you'll take that neutral wrist coming straight out from the pinky and right, a normal neutral stance, and when the sleeves go down on the hands, it's like you're trying to hold your sleeves up like this. It'll take your pelvis anterior, right, and that's your spine. Then it travels into your shoulders from here, really, from your hips, not just from your hands. That does too, but then if your pelvis goes anterior, your shoulders go external. And then if your shoulders are doing that because your spine's curving, your spine's all connected up through from your lower back, right, your lumbar spine, up through your thoracic spine, which is the mid back, and then into your cervical spine, which is your neck. It's all connected. So if your pelvis is going anterior, because there's a shirt around where your hips want to open into internal rotation, and if your hands are going like this, taking that neutral wrist, and right, they could just be relaxed if there's nothing in the way, but then altering it to try to like hold the sleeves up. Now you're taking your shoulders into external rotation from here and from here, okay? And then your neck, like I was saying, your spine's connected. So if your pelvis goes anterior, your lumbar spine then curves like this. And then it'll curve back for your thoracic, meaning mid-back between those scapulas, right? Right here, this is your scapula. I always talk about internal rotation, right? And then it'll curve back forward again for your cervical spine, for your neck, because it just has to stay vertical. That's why I always say we need to stay centered. And I'm normally showing it like this to where it probably looks more left and right, but forward and back is the same thing, because the spine will then just have to counterbalance itself to keep you vertical, right? So yeah, a couple things with this shirt, and this is why it's funny, because I like this shirt a lot, but who knows, I might end up just donating it before I even actually like wear it, and maybe it was just for this video's sake that I bought it. Because here's the couple things. The sleeves, right, they need to be about there, right? I mean, off of the hand, so that when your hand's resting, like I was showing, it can just rest. It doesn't have to like activate to hold the sleeve up, because then that's tensing the muscles within your forearm, that's traveling up, and you see what it's doing to the position of my shoulder, that alters my upper trap and alters the position of my head. And I always say, I've done many videos on the jaw. I did a video called How Dental Work Affects Body Mechanics. I did a video on, I think it was just called How the Jaw Affects the Entire Body. But I always say the jaw tries to stabilize, and doesn't even try, that's really its role in a lot of ways, but the jaw stabilizes the entire body. When I said try, what I mean is, if there's other things, exterior things, I always say clothing is the only thing placed directly, physically on us at all times. So it's the only thing that has the potential and really does physically alter our bodies at all times if imbalanced or if it's unnatural, right? So yeah, the jaw is really trying to just do its normal job and stabilize you in a neutral position here. Look at like my wrists, right? And my pelvis and core's tucked, interior, shoulders are in a good position, back's pretty neutral, right? But then when I have to try to hold the shirt on, right, because it's just too big, even if it's only in one way, right? Maybe it's waisted well, but then it's too long on the sleeves. Well, now my jaw is like tucking weird and doing things that it wouldn't normally do. So yeah, there's a lot that happens just because your sleeves, see, like, you never see me doing that. Just because your sleeves are just a little bit too long, all that's going on, right? And yeah, I mean, so yeah, they you don't, I thought I heard sprinklers turning on. You don't want your sleeves on your hands, okay? And I've talked about it before, and you never see me doing that in videos, at least up until this point. You've probably pretty much never seen me do it. But yeah, I've talked about it quite a bit before, that we need things off the hands, off the feet, right? Shirt should stop very close to where the hips hinge. Pants should be all the way up so that the hips can hinge. I talk about where the clothing needs to sit on the universal human design, right? We talk about undisputed universal truths here at In the Image Clothing Company, but you've just never really been able to see, with me being the visual example, what happens when the sleeves are too long, just because I don't wear too long of sleeves, right? But the shoulder seams are really good. They sit where they should, right? I mean, it fits me really well up here, but then, like I'm saying, the length. So yeah, you need to keep, again, I say this kind of thing where I can't really tell anybody what to do, but I can tell them what their body doesn't do, right? I mean, I can tell you what you need to do to allow your body to do what it does do, right? I can tell you those things, because there is a universal human design, and this is going to happen to everybody, no matter what. I mean, you can be 5'4", I'm 6'2", right? I'm just saying, like, you can be any height, and this will happen to you. You can be like 3.5 feet tall and be like a little kid, and just be wearing a hoodie to school like this, and you know, meaning just all humans will get affected the exact same with this. So yes, I mean, just keep the sleeves off of your hands. And I've done a couple videos recently on how it's getting more into fall. It's now definitely fall here in Utah, right? United States of America. This is the state of Utah. We have these mountains here, and we get a lot of snow on them, but also all throughout the towns and stuff too. So the point is, we're going to be wearing long sleeves, right? Just because it's going to be colder than our body's temperature, and so we need to insulate it. And I've just been mentioning more, past few videos here, as it's getting ready to start cooling down. It's actually pretty warm still today. It's probably like 70 degrees Fahrenheit or something, but we need to keep sleeves off of the hands. This is a very good example shirt, because you can just see what it does. I mean, I don't stand like this, but you kind of almost have to, unless it's like completely off of your wrists. And I will mention, for this visual within this video, this is long also. I've done my modifications to this shirt, right? And I've done the prerequisites, plus other things that I do. I mean, I made a video one time about how to make button-up shirts more comfortable, right? I did those things to this, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's like there's only so much you can do if the sleeves really are too long. So yeah, anyway, I think that's just about all there's to say on that, because I mean, I described all what it's doing, right, to the body, but those things that it's doing to the upper body, it doesn't stop there, right? That natural gripped arch and that internal rotation. I mean, I'm standing, I mean, my body just, I know where a foundational point is, you know, and so I'm kind of like, kind of compensating a little bit for, you know, the length of the sleeves and the length of the shirt, and still standing fairly normal. But that nice gripped arch and internal rotation, posterior tuck of the hips, all the things I was mentioning within the lower body, that will get altered because of your sleeve on your hand, right? And the reason I say it like that and kind of like slow down with it is because some people just wouldn't know that, you know. I mean, if you don't know what you don't know, and that's fine, but that really will happen. The arches in your feet will collapse because if your shoulders are in external rotation, you're not going to hold your lower half of your body in a good neutral, active, internally rotated position while your upper body's in external rotation. I mean, you're not going to have like that much of a discrepancy from top to bottom. Your body's going to try to like find a middle ground between what's causing the problem and what's working well, you know what I mean? So it really will affect your entire body if your sleeves are on your hands, okay? And it's something that most all people have, really. I mean, it's not so common for people to actually wear sleeves like that, where they should. But like, look at my hand. My hand can just do all and anything that it needs to do. When I'm standing, it has the ability to get clear out. Because if you look at this position, the reason why we shouldn't have to stretch, and the reason why clothing in this case right here, sleeve length would make it so you do need to stretch, is because if I'm standing and my sleeves, I'm just gonna pull, this isn't quite the best example because it's just, they are too long. So I want them to sit right here for the example, but if my sleeves are off of my hand so that when I'm standing, I can just take my hands and put them out, right? This is the same as this, right? It's just down here. It's the same thing though. Like, my shoulders aren't moving at all, right? My scapulas aren't moving. My core activation isn't changing. My hands are just going from here to here. I mean, my arms aren't even rotating, right? Nothing's happening, but my elbow is bending. In this case, like this, the rotation in here is, I mean, there isn't rotation happening. It's just, that's all the elbow. Because even this, that stops at the elbow, right? That's just the forearm. So if you have sleeves on your hands, now you're like this, and you won't get there without, you can maybe see, without your knees coming in. Really what's happening is your back's compensating, so your knees come in into external rotation because your arches collapse, your feet go out. Now you're walking like this. Hi. Right? Rather than just like a normal human. So yeah, that's just, it will happen to everybody no matter what if your sleeves are on your hands. Okay, so that's funny. It's just a really good visual. I love that. All right, so yes, keep your sleeves off your hands. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, this is a very light cotton shirt. It is actually 2% spandex, right? 98% cotton, 2% spandex. It's just somebody else's shirt that I bought at the thrift store. But yeah, it doesn't matter if it's light or if it's heavy. It's sensory, and I've talked about that quite a lot. Where, well, I mean, that's what I always talk about. We cannot tell our bodies what to do because it's not about the weight. Thinking like, well, I'm strong, I can hold up this light little piece of cotton, right? No, it's sensory wise. Your body's not going to sit there and try to like fight something, even if it's extremely light. Right? So it could be this light, or you could be wearing a pretty thick, heavy coat, like a leather jacket, right? No matter what it is, the effect's going to be the same, right? And so it's going to tense up all the muscles in your forearms, and then, like I said, it doesn't stop the entire body as a whole. So, yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you'd like to, you don't need to do this at all, but I'm just saying you can for reference. Any other video that I've posted where I'm wearing a long sleeved button-up shirt, I mean, this doesn't happen in, I can't say any of them, but like, you're pretty much not gonna find any video of mine where I'm like trying to get my sleeves off of my hands. So up until today, right? I can't really speak for the future videos, but I'm, you know, that's the intent. That's the whole goal. That's what we do at In The Image Clothing Company, is just try to have our clothing sit where our bodies aren't affected by it, right? So that's exactly what I've shown in this video. Okay, all right, thank you. Like I said, we will have clothing available when it comes. We do have our official domain, which is InTheImageClothingCompany.com, but as of today's date, it's still being built, right? The website to where you can go there. That's where you will go though, always. Once it's up and running, we have In The Image Clothing Company podcast. We'll have at least a way to get to it from there, right? Whether it's just a link or if there's a way to listen to it or see it on there. We do have lots of videos that I've made, right? Being the founder, up until this point, about free modifications you can do within the clothing you already own to just allow it to work for your body rather than trying to work around it, which we cannot do, right? We can't tell our bodies what to do. That goes for this guy, meaning me, or him or her, just all humans. We cannot tell our bodies what to do. And I went into that a little bit in this video, but I have a lot of videos talking about the natural workings of the human body just by itself. And yeah, a lot of good things. So we are within the podcast episodes, right? We've had 2 episodes so far, but I talk about this because that's the center of everything. Within some of the podcast episodes, we might not even discuss clothing in individual episodes. It might just be about the gospel of Jesus Christ. That is the center of everything. That is the foundation of everything. He created everything and us and the ability for anything to be anything. So yes, we will get into discussions on that often, right? Within everything. That's the focus, that's the goal, because that's the whole reason we have this company that is In The Image Clothing Company, is to get our bodies back to how he designed them, right? I mean, that's the whole point in saying we cannot tell them what to do, because if we're trying to get something that we didn't design, being our bodies, to do something that it doesn't do, well, we don't get to decide that. And this is an example of that. This is what I mean when I say that, okay? So anyway, like I said, I am the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. My name is Evan Strong. Today's date is the 4th of October, 2024. And now you know why I say what I say when I say this. All right. Okay. Thank you.